Have you ever repeated the same cycle? What I mean is, like, either in business or in life or in your relationship, you see that same cycle over and over again. It's like you want something and you start out and then you end up back in the same place, right? And it happens over and over again. If that has happened to you, then this video is for you. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you three practical steps that you can take and that I've taken to really stop that cycle of somewhat like a self-sabotage and to really start your life in the direction and to achieve what it is that you want. So let me start out with a story. About 2 years ago, I had a purpose of growing my coaching business, and for I went from my 9 to 5 to a consulting business, and then was to change over to a coaching business. Now, I struggled for about a year. I hired mentors, I hired coaching programs, and I journaled every day. I listened to affirmations, I watched YouTube videos. I did just about everything that I could to launch my coaching program. I was taking action, but for some reason I couldn't see the results. And it really got really frustrating, right? Because I knew what I had that I can offer to the world, but there was some sort of misalignment, and it didn't make sense to me because every time I got close, right, it always seemed like something was kind of pulling me back, or something would happen. I would either kind of self-sabotage it, right? And what I went on a self-discovery, direction to really find out what that was. And what I found is that I was thinking the same thoughts of a person or of my identity that did not have the coaching business, right? And what I mean by that is when we actually go towards a goal, to start a business or find a significant other in a relationship, or maybe find a job, or whatever it is in life that you're going after, where it all starts is in our thinking process. See, we have about 60,000 thoughts per day, and about 45 of them are repetitive. So when I was going for my coaching program, or when I was trying to grow it, and I didn't have any, success at it, what I didn't really realize that about 45,000 thoughts that I had per day while I was trying to achieve my coaching program, they were all the same when I didn't have my coaching program, right? And it's so easy for us to focus on those repetitive thoughts because obviously they're comfort, right? So what I started doing is really focusing and focusing my thoughts on the thoughts that really propelled me into my coaching business when I grew it, a couple of years ago. And the way you start doing that, the way you start changing your thoughts, there's a lot of ways that we talk about on this channel, but one way is to really look at, okay, so how would a person that has a successful coaching business, that's running, multiple six-figure coaching business, how will they act? How will they feel? And most important, what will they do? Right? So what I started doing, right, and what you can start doing is when you're achieving something, is start asking those questions. What would someone that already has what I have, how will they think? How will they feel? And one of the most important things is what will they do, right? Because what we can control, sometimes we can't control our thoughts because, it takes a while to train them. We cannot control it. But what you can control is what you do. Action, taking steps, is by far most the way you start changing and achieving it, right? But you want to take the right steps. And the way you can do that is, again, ask yourself, find someone that has already achieved what you want and what are they doing or what can you do? So what I did, right, is I actually created a budget, right? Like I created a plan, right, on what are those activities that I need to take every single day to get closer to my goal, right? And I start measuring it per day, per week, per month, and so forth. So this could be for you, maybe, you're going for a relationship, right? So maybe if the first step is you want to define who it is that you're looking for, right? And then what are those steps that you can take? Maybe you have to position yourself, in certain spots where people like that are hanging out at, right? Going to parties, meeting new people, right? Just kind of putting yourself out there. Or maybe it's you want to start a business, right? You want to identify that goal in detail. Now, what are those steps that you have to take to get there? So to start breaking that cycle that happens over and over again is number one, right? You want to identify those thoughts that are you focusing on, because if those thoughts are still based on the version of you that didn't have what it is that you want, you're going to fall back to them, right? Because they're going to pull you back, because it's those 45,000 thoughts per day that are, from yesterday, right? They're all repetitive. That's what's going to be holding you back. So you want to start changing it, and you can do it a couple different ways. The number one that's going to be the quickest, right, is to take action, right? And usually is by identifying those steps that you have to take, right, in order to achieve those goals. And usually you can do it by finding someone else that's already achieved it. That's by far one of the most practical ways to do it. It's not always easier, right? Like I say, it's done, but it's a process. But the very first step is you really want to identify those thoughts that you are having that continuing you on that same cycle over and over again, right? And it can get really frustrating. So once you identify those thoughts, one of the best ways to do it is to, focus on those actions that you're taking. Now, if you are taking those actions and you're saying, Juan, look, I take the actions, this just not is it's not working, right? No matter what I do, something happens, and then I feel down on myself and I beat myself up because I can't achieve it. Now, if that's the case, there's another root cause, and that's most likely a belief. See, what happens is we have beliefs for just about everything internally. It's almost like you can imagine, like we have a file inside in our psyche. And for instance, like let's say maybe, you want to find a significant other, right? You want to be in a relationship, you want to look for more love. Well, there's a file filed away in your memory, in your psyche, that has to do with love. And inside that file, it's all history, it's all past of the experiences that you've had, maybe as an adolescent, right? Maybe as a child, the experience that you had with your parents, right? So you're going to reference that belief, which is a folder, right? It might be this thick, it might be this thick, but it's going to have stories in there, right? It's going to have stories, it's going to have emotions, it's going to have, things that you associate with. So when you are, let's say, going for the relationship, you're looking for love, but you see that same cycle happening over again. You want to ask yourself, what is that belief? What is that file that I keep reading over and over again, right? And it's almost like it plays out over and over again, because really there's a story attached to it. So you want to find out what is that belief, and then once you identify it, by asking questions, right? One of the most important things, if you're experiencing something that happens over to you over and over and over again, you want to start asking different questions. One of the questions that you really want to kind of stay away from is, why is this happening to me? And it might sound like it's a good question to ask when something happens. The only challenge with that is a why question, right? It's going to give you the reasons why it's happening to you again, if that makes sense. So let's say for me, I started, in the beginning, I would ask, why is my coaching business not growing? Well, it will tell me, like, why? Well, you're not making the calls, right? You're not contacting people. You're not creating content. You're not going out there. So all these things that I was not doing, and guess what that does? That just pushes me even lower, right? It just makes me more, upset and sad and depressed. And so the why question can be really something that can hold you back. So you want to ask different questions. So if you are stuck in that cycle over and over again, then you want to start asking, what it is that I can start doing different. How can I do something different to achieve my goal, right? So you want to ask other questions. What, how, what, maybe, what can I do different? Or maybe where can I be, where can I promote my business where I can get more business? Maybe I'm trying to grow my business in the same spot over and over again, and those people aren't buying. Well, maybe, where else can I actually change my direction, right? Or maybe if you're looking for that relationship, maybe you're looking for in the wrong places, right? So where else can you look for? So you want to ask different questions. The why question will definitely give you the reasons why you're not achieving what it is or why it's happening over to you again. And that really doesn't help us to move us forward and to really break free, right? To gain more clarity, right? And once you have clarity in your life, then you're going to feel more empowered, right? And then once you have that empowerment, you're going to have that freedom to make the right choices, right? To create and design the life that you really deserve and that you want. So I hope you found this short video useful. And if you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody else that you might know that's repeating the same cycle over and over again. It's some practical ways that you can start, really choosing the direction and really start changing that cycle by taking a few steps. And remember, so the very first step is you really want to focus on what are those thoughts that you're choosing different thoughts, right? And if you keep seeing yourself in the cycle, what are the different actions that you can take? Because taking actions will really break that cycle, right? And sometimes you need to, kind of ask different questions to find out what it is that you can do if you are doing those things over and over again. So again, I hope you found this useful. Please subscribe to the channel. Show me some love. hit the like button, and in the comments, I would love to hear, like how have you been able to break cycles in your life, or maybe you have other specific questions. I would love to hear and engage with you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Namaste.